In this video, we're practicing our German verbs through the verb verstehen. As it stands, of course, it's in its infinitive form. That means it's base form with an en ending. And apart from the en ending, what is this verb made up of? You might notice that it's got the word stehen in there. And if we just take the stem stehe, then we can see the different parts more clearly. And the verb stehen is a very common verb, and it means to stand. And in addition to that verb, you've got the prefix ver. It's a very common prefix. And what's important about ver is that it is an inseparable prefix. That means you can't separate it from the stehen part of the verb ever. And that means that overall, this verb verstehen, which means to understand, is an inseparable verb. Its two parts always stay together. Now let's practice some conjugation in the present tense. And of course, we've got rid of the en. And let's add our standard present tense endings. We've got e, st, t, en, t, en. And that is all correct. There are no oddities in the present tense conjugation here. So it means ich verstehe, I understand. Du verstehst, you understand. Sie, es versteht, he, she, it understands. Wir verstehen, we understand. Ihr versteht, you plural understand. And sie verstehen, they understand, or you formal understand. Okay, it's simple past tense. Verstand. That's all you need to know in order to use that simple past tense. It's got the same endings as you would expect as the verb stehen in its simple past. Its perfect past tense is hat verstanden. Now, the thing with the inseparable prefix here is that it's not going to detach in any way, and in fact there's not even going to be a GE inserted here as you would expect for separable verbs. The ver and the stehen must stay together, so we are going to change the stem here to the word stand. So we use the helping verb haben plus the past participle verstanden. The future tense, wird verstehen. No tricks here, just using the verb werden in its correctly conjugated form and then verstehen in its infinitive form at the end of the sentence. And I guess the main idiom I want you to be aware of with the verb verstehen is using it in its reflexive form. Sich verstehen. Now, if you say understand oneself or understand yourself in German and then have a mit afterwards, although the mit is not always strictly necessary, then that's going to mean get along with. So you're no longer just talking about understanding, but you're talking about getting along, having a good relationship with, or having a certain type of relationship. It could be bad as well if it's used with schlecht. Let's have a look at the verb in practice. So we're doing some conjugation practice, and I would encourage you to pause the video and have a go for yourself with all 10 of these sentences, filling the gaps with either the present or the past or the future tense and translating, and we'll go through them together. Number 1. Versteht nicht? Doesn't he understand? Now we can see that we've got a subject here, which is connected to the T ending in the present tense. That's why I've got the T ending. It's a question, which is the reason why the verb is at the start of the sentence. In English, we have this doesn't, this does, and then the not afterwards. But in German, we don't have that helping verb does. We just go straight to the verb. Understands he not? Number 2, meine Schwester versteht das nicht. So this time we've got the same ending. We have a T ending here on the verb, still in the present tense as well. But the reason for the ending is not that it's a he subject, but that we have meine Schwester, my sister, which of course could be replaced with a sie, a she, and therefore we have the T ending. My sister doesn't understand. Number 3, ich verstehe nur Bahnhof. Now, the conjugation, the grammar of this sentence is really simple. We have an E ending, and that's because our subject is ich, and it's still in the present tense. But the meaning of this sentence is pretty crazy. I understand only train station. And that's because this is an idiom. It's one of those idiomatic sort of proverbs which is spoken in certain cultural situations. Doesn't make sense strictly word for word, but it expresses a sentiment which everyone understands. And I guess the equivalent in English is it's all Greek to me. That's sort of the closest equivalent that I can think of. Basically, I've got no idea. Number 4, verstehst du dich gut mit deinen Geschwistern? So this time, once again, we have a question, hence the verb right at the start of the sentence. And of course, the reason we have the st ending is because of du being the subject. And notice in this sentence that for the first time, we've seen the sich form of verstehen. So do you get along with, do you understand yourself well with your sisters? Do you get along with your siblings, rather? Number 5, meine Eltern verstehen nichts von Computern. My parents understand nothing about computers. So we have an en ending because my parents are the subject, that is they. And this is a handy little phrase when you're talking about having no idea about something, no technical knowledge about something. They understand nothing of computers, where in English we would say nothing about. Number 6, es tut mir leid, ich habe Sie falsch verstanden. So we've got another ich conjugation here, but the difference is, of course, that it's in the past tense. We have 2 gaps, so we know it's either got to be future tense or past tense. But because of the apology, es tut mir leid, I'm sorry, then it's got to be past tense, really. I understood you wrong, or I understood you incorrectly. And to make up the past tense, we simply have the helping verb, habe, which is linked to ich, hence the e ending, and then the past participle, verstanden, which we looked at on the last slide. Number 7, das ist nicht wörtlich zu verstehen. This time verstehen is not conjugated. Notice it's got an en ending, but the en is not linked to any sie or wir or anything like that. Quite the contrary. We have a zu, and after zu, verbs take their infinitive form, and this means it's not to be understood literally. That is not literally to understand. Number 8, wenn ich recht verstehe, gibt es keine Alternative. If I understand correctly or properly or right, there's no alternative. And the conjugation is simple here. We've got an e, and the conjugation is simple here. We've got an e on verstehe, which is linked to the ich. Now, the wenn is one of those conjunctions that sends the verb right to the end of the clause. And the end of the clause is sort of symbolized here by the comma. And then we have another conjugated verb at the start of the next clause. That's the verb, comma, verb rule. Notice this gibt es is switched around from what you'd normally see and expect to see. Es gibt, there is, there are. Number 9, wir verstehen uns großartig. We get on terrifically. We get on really well. Again, en ending here, very easily linked to the wir subject. Now, this means get along or get on, but there's no mit. And I wonder if you can see the reason for that. The reason is that the subject includes everybody involved. You don't have to say, I get on with my brother or with my sister. It's we get along with each other, but we get along, and you don't need to have that with necessarily. And number 10, das versteht sich von selbst. That's self-explanatory. Literally, that understands itself from itself. You might also translate it into English, that goes without saying, or that's a no-brainer. Simple conjugation T ending because das belongs to the it row in the conjugation table. And this is a handy saying to keep up your sleeve for social situations where something is so obvious that it doesn't need any explanation.